Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. It's pouring here in Madrid and it's been raining for, I would say, 2 weeks straight, which is a good thing. We do need rain. That said, for my very selfish reasons, I'm getting slightly fed up of getting back home completely drenched or the next day putting my feet in just damp trainers. It's not a fun feeling. So I just really hope Madrid takes out its sunshine again because training in this rainy weather is getting a bit taxing. That said, I can't complain. Today, we will be talking about the feeling that many of us wellness leaders in hotels have, or that thought, what's the point? They'll never take wellness seriously. Now, while today I'm speaking to you directly, so you're the wellness leader, you are either a manager, supervisor, director of a spa and wellness facility in a hotel. And this is a repeated thought you have. And while this is relevant to you, this is also relevant to my hotelier colleagues, particularly the clients I work with who are owners of boutique properties. Because I know the challenges you have in trying to find the right spa manager or the right leader for your wellness facility. And it gets challenging because you find many of the strong wellness leaders who have had a number of years of experience under their belt come with this thought that has been preconditioned. And I find when you understand where they're coming from, it becomes a lot easier to open a conversation and reach a midpoint. So, going back to our wellness leaders, you know, I get it. So you have put in all this effort over the years across different properties. You've put forward great ideas for wellness. You've tried to improve the wellness experience. And what you hear is a repeated no, a no after no. And then you see things happen in the hotel that don't really reinforce a positive message. In fact, the total opposite. It makes you kind of think, what's the point? Why am I doing all of this? And it's frustrating. It's disheartening. And over time, I get it. It can feel that there is no point in even trying. But here's what I want to challenge today. It's that this thought, what's the point, doesn't just reflect the reality you're experiencing. It actually creates that reality that you're experiencing. Now, I wrote it down and I'll repeat it. This thought, what's the point, doesn't just reflect the reality you're experiencing. It actually creates the reality you're experiencing. And the moment you believe that wellness isn't taken seriously, you start operating from that belief. And that impacts how wellness is positioned in your hotel. But what if the problem isn't that wellness isn't taken seriously? What if it's just not being positioned in the right way? And today, I'm going to show you 3 small shifts that don't require you to fight harder or work longer hours or even change who you are, but that make it impossible for wellness to be ignored. Because if we do this right, you will walk away after today's session with a completely new way to think about your role. So one that gets your GM, your director of finance, your director of sales and marketing to see wellness as an asset instead of an expense or a freebie or an amenity. But before that, what I want to let you know, if you have that thought, what's the point? Know that you are not alone. I'll put my hand up. I have thought that in many moments during my career. And I get why this belief is so common. We've all had wellness ideas shut down again and again. And then you end up believing that there is no point in pushing for nuance because you get tired. You then don't have a strategic seat at the table. Wellness conversations happen after big decisions are made. And many times I see wellness leaders aren't part of the hotel's executive committee or executive team. And myself, being a very senior wellness leader, I have also recently gone back into full-time employment. And when I went back, I was not part of that executive committee. Wellness was not seen important in that table. And on top of that, you sometimes see what seems like massive discounting, which makes wellness feel like this giveaway. So instead of it being valued, it's kind of this freebie that is slapped onto a room package to sell rooms. And when this happens, time and again, it's natural to think they just never take wellness seriously. But let's step back for a second. Imagine if Martin Luther King Jr. had thought, what's the point? The system isn't built for change. Imagine if Mahatma Gandhi had thought, people don't take this seriously. Why bother? Now, I know wellness isn't a civil rights movement, but the underlying principle is the same. When something isn't prioritized, you have two choices. One, assume it'll never change and just accept the status quo and do nothing about it, except complain. Or two, find a way to shift the conversation so people can't ignore it. And here's the good news. You don't have to change who you are to make this shift. You don't need to stop believing in wellness to make this shift. You don't need to work harder. You just need to reposition how wellness is seen inside your hotel. So let's go over these 3 tiny but simple shifts you can make starting today that will completely change how wellness is valued in your hotel. So instead of assuming things will never change, let's find a way to shift the conversation. So the first shift is going from just proposing an idea to actually talking about the outcome. So going from idea-driven to outcome-driven. Now, here's the mistake most wellness directors make. We pitch ideas instead of outcomes. So a possible scenario, a typical scenario is, as a wellness leader, we walk into our GM's office and we say, I want to introduce a new sleep ritual service and it costs X. And sometimes we don't even come with the cost of it. And your GM responds, we don't have budget for this right now. The natural instinct is to say, what's the point? They've said no. But instead of giving up, why not try this? You respond, I understand. But if we could structure this so that it generates an extra $20 per guest in spend, would that be something worth exploring? Now, can you see why this would work? This works, this tiny shift, this coming back with another question and offering a solution within that question. You're not asking for approval. You're positioning a revenue opportunity. You're making it about hotel profitability, not just wellness. And decision makers don't care about wellness ideas or any ideas. Don't kid yourself. Not even food and beverage, nor rooms, nor conferences. They don't care about ideas. They care about business outcomes because that is their job, to keep the ship afloat. The second shift is going from thinking purely about the guest experience to thinking about a financial strategy. So going from guest experience to financial strategy. Most wellness directors talk about how wellness makes guests feel. But the reality is, GMs and director of finances don't make decisions based on feelings. So just imagine with this scenario, you go in to see your director of finance and you tell him or her, we need more budget for spa amenities that will give a better guest experience. And you hear that typical response from your director of finance. Wellness revenue is low, budget is going towards rooms and food and beverage. And honestly, why do we need to invest more here? And your response to that would be to step back. But instead of stepping back, let's try this. That's exactly why I want to look at ways to increase revenue per guest. Right now, guests who book wellness spend an average of $120 more per wellness guest. And if we shift our menu to include an upgrade, we can increase that to $150 per guest. So it's a $30 increase per wellness guest. Now, can you see why with this comeback, you will have a very different reaction? And this works because you're speaking their language. You're talking about average daily rates. You're talking about revenue per guest. You are not just asking for money. You are showing them how to make more money. And the third shift is kind of being held to the mercy of your sales and marketing team for the need to drive discounts and moving that approach from discount driven to demand driven. So instead of getting upset with your revenue manager or your director of sales and marketing and going into a meeting and saying, we shouldn't be discounting spa services, it devalues wellness. And then you only have your director of sales and market tell you that we need to add a free massage to drive more bookings, to drive occupancy. Now, instead of just keeping quiet and walking away, feeling disheartened, you can say, we can absolutely use wellness as an incentive, but let's be strategic. Instead of a full free massage, what if we offer a 20-minute teaser experience? That way, guests get a taste and are more likely to book a full service once they arrive. Can you see how the conversation shifts at that moment? And the reason this works is that you are not resisting the system. You're working within it. And trust me, this is coming from someone who has tried to fight many losing battles. And guess what? I've always lost. So there is no point resisting the system. Work within it. And instead of fighting against discounts, use them to strategically upsell. Now, can you see why with these 3 small shifts, you don't need to fight harder. You just need to shift how wellness is positioned. And can you see how the problem isn't that they don't take wellness seriously? It's that wellness hasn't been framed in a way that naturally fits into hotel decision making. And can you see how, by making these small shifts, you don't just get heard, you deliver results? Because here's the truth. The moment wellness stops being an extra and starts being an asset, everything changes. That is all down to you, the wellness leader. So here's my challenge for you. What's one small shift you can make this week to reposition wellness as a strategic asset in your hotel? Because we have all the power in the world to position wellness the way we see fit. We don't need to sit and just accept the status quo and continue to complain. We can instead find a way to shift the conversation. And over the 20 plus years I've been in this industry, the repeated thought that I had when I used to have it, that what's the point? They'll never take wellness seriously. That never served me. And the day I shifted that conversation, the day I got off my wellness high horse, the day I started to understand hospitality, is the day I actually understood wellness and how I could position wellness as a genuine asset for the rest of the hotel. So there you have it, my wellness leaders friends. 3 small shifts that you can implement right away. That is fully within your control. Because you know what? You are the one who takes wellness seriously. And on that inspiring note, I wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Take care now.